Hey guys, it's Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and today we are checking out a Warhammer 40k viral sensation. This is Russian Badger's Heavy Flamer Heresy. This bad boy has like 7 million views in 2 years. This is going to be awesome. I can already feel it, right? It's got everything great about Warhammer. Heavy flamers, and igniting heretics. Need I say more? But before we get started, of course, if you too dream of clearing out a derelict space freighter with a gigantic flamethrower, hit that subscribe button. And like the video. And check out my second channel. And check out my merch store. And follow me on Instagram. And then once you've done that, let's do it.
Just blow it all up in the first place, like...
No,
Brother,
start at the
get
beginning.
the flamer. The heavy flamer.
My theories may manifest. Feel the fate of the chapter's finest.
I would like to file a complaint.
Okay, this is actually great. Flamethrowers, great. Weapon dates back to World War II, probably. The personal flamethrower, used to clear enemies out of... Actually, World War I, I think. Used to clear enemies out of trenches. Used to clear them out of bunkers. Used to do a lot of things. And, fun fact, one of the earliest uses of fire was what the Ottomans called Greek fire. And I think it was the Byzantine Navy would launch what was basically a medieval version of napalm onto ships, and it was a pretty feared weapon. So the point is, even in the year 40,000, definitely plausible that we are still burning things.
How indiscriminate you are with your flame. You don't need to whip it like a noodle at a swimming pool. Like, what the fuck?
Best part about power armor, it's flameproof. There's no friendly fire. When all is fire.
In flame.
Burn in holy fire.
The time has come, brothers. No mercy.
Shitpost / heresy alert. If you're offended when someone goofs up the lore or talks shit about your favorite chapter of Space Marines, please... Welcome.
Okay, I'm not personally offended. You guys can talk about the lore and your favorite chapter of Space Marines, and I will continue to call every single one of them anime weebs. This channel is chapter inclusive.
To the grim darkness of the future, where peace, happiness, and prosperity have been replaced by war, death, and destruction. Not necessarily in that order, but necessarily in mass quantities.
I will endure 1,000 deaths before I yield.
In the last episode, 9 months ago, we were introduced to the sentient fungi known as the orcs, the corn-worshipping heretics known as the forces of chaos that make the civilian casualties of World War II look like a picnic,
Skulls for the skull throne! Blood for the blood god!
List of coordinate massacres. This list is incomplete. You can help by expanding it.
Just gonna point out that if you're Khorne the Blood God, would you want more blood? I feel like you'd be all blooded out.
and most importantly, the Space Marines of the Imperium of Man, led by the venerate Emperor himself.
We are one in the Emperor and the will of man.
Led spiritually by the Emperor. Physically, he's pretty dead.
And as much as I'd love to hear about your hyper-intelligent Dark Elder waifu, the dumbass weeaboo space communists, and the rattle me bones robots, the Xenos stealing your shit this time around are the Gene Stealer Tyranids.
Your infestation spreads no further, alien.
It may sound like despotic deja vu for someone to be stealing your shit again, but that's usually the way these 40k games go. Xenos are either killing something, breaking something, or stealing something. You're deployed to intervene, you realize the shit is fucked, and you may as well blow it all up anyways, and then you blow it all up.
Well, yeah, based on what I've seen from the lore, Space Marines don't really have, their road doesn't seem to have a lot of, graduation to it. You basically are either on a transport vessel, or you are shooting things indiscriminately. I guess when you're a Space Marine, it's just like, whatever, right? Like we talk about, Force of Chaos, corruption, all that. Again, to me, if you were a Space Marine, you'd want them, if you want them to secure something valuable, even if it's just like an object or a facility or a factory or something, you'd want them to have a little bit of discrimination in what they're targeting. Like, is anything in this space freighter flammable? Hope not.
Can survive the flame.
Which may beg the question from your perspective, why not just blow it all up in the first place? Like Exterminatus nuke from orbit. And to that I retort,
Because it is the Emperor's will, and also purging is really, really fun, brother.
the Gene Stealers are doing just that on one of your space hulks called the Elethros, and you're the librarian in charge of salvaging anything of value and purging the Xeno filth.
Your heresy stops here!
Alongside Devastator Barakeel, Apothecary Nahum, and Shotcaller Belial, you make up Deathwing, the first company of the Dark Angels chapter.
We are the Angels of Death.
Okay, I can't remember anything actually about the Dark Angels in the lore. They're not the ones that like people, right? That's the salamanders. But they're also they're the ones that drink blood. I really need the lore experts in the comments to help me out here, man.
The whole Dark Angels in bone white armor may be a little confusing, but it's only Deathwing. The rest of the Dark Angels are actually green, even though the salamanders are already green. But the salamanders are almost always on fire, so it's not that hard to...
Brother, enough with the lore!
Brothers, retribution is at hand. It is our strength. We are the sons of Caliban. Let fury guide your weapons. Let vengeance be your song. We are the angels of death, and our enemies shall fall.
Decked out in Terminator armor, you're larger and more formidable than your ordinary Space Marine, but not so huge that you can't fit through doorways like a menacing full-size dreadnought.
Okay, interesting. This is the first I've heard about Terminator armor. Is it an additional armor that you like clamp on to power armor? Is it like certain extra thick Space Marines get extra thick Terminator armor? Again, need lore people to help me out here. But again, I guess if I was going to clear an entire ship, I wouldn't do it with 3 people. Especially not people who are going to, I guess, steal your genes. Since that seems like even being wounded could still result in, like, the enemy getting what they want, which is, again, I guess your genetic material. Yeah. But, these games always have a premise, right? You're always cut off from your buddies, and it's the 3 of you versus 800 gazillion, in this case, Gene Stealer Tyranids.
They block our path.
And you better believe you're gonna need this intimidating armor, because the Gene Stealers you're up against, well, they're not exactly small.
By the Emperor, can the Xenos get any bigger?
And you may be thinking, at least I have 2 Dark Angel Terminators to help me.
Wrong.
I know it may be heresy to shit-talk fellow Terminators.
Bold words for someone in assault cannon range.
Delete this heresy.
Heresy, it burns. We heard you were talking shit, brother.
But short of dispensing a few cookie-cutter voice...
Okay, I appreciate that he constantly shouts out Hulk Hogan by referring to things as brother. I also know that, yes, in lore, Space Marines are all brothers to each other, which is also genetically true because they're all from the same gene seed. So they're like half-brothers, I'd say. I'd give you half-brothers.
Lines and soaking up damage, they are useless.
For the Emperor, we are the Angels of Death. Overwhelming.
That is like one single Xeno. Steady yourself, brother.
Discipline is their sole strength, as in even if they are on the brink of death, they will not heal themselves unless you instruct them to.
Actually, okay. I'm just gonna... Alright, interesting story. Old school militaries, right? Before, like, World War I and before, they actually... I mean, I don't think they ever got quite that bad, but the level of the lack of initiative that troops were expected to show was like pretty astounding, right? In the U.S. military, like we sort of give our subordinate units like a broad direction and enough details to coordinate with the other units around them, but we don't spell it out exactly. And we expect if things go to shit that everybody knows enough about the mission kind of all the way down that you can figure out ways to improvise and get it done still. This is why, of course, we do these very elaborate mission briefs. As an officer, you spend a lot of time briefing up your guys, briefing up your soldiers. And that's to make sure that if you bite it, that everyone knows enough to just pick up and keep going in the mission. But that is a really new evolution. More traditionally, soldiers are trained to do nothing unless explicitly told to, without their officer's instruction. There's actually, you can watch one of the ration reviewers, Steve 1989. He reviews a Boer War, so an 1890s era British ration. And it says on there, it's an emergency ration, right? So it's issued to troops in the event of that they cannot get food and they will starve to death, and they have this like incredibly disgusting like packed powder. And it says on there, do not open unless instructed by your officer, which I find to be hilarious. Like, imagine an MRE being like, do not eat this unless your officer tells you, right? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, oh, you need instructions to eat. But that's actually pretty typical of a lot of traditional militaries, where, you know, if you kill the command, in the absence of orders, they will just stop. They will execute the last order they received, and then they will stop and await further orders, await a new commander. But of course, that's a really ineffective way to fight a war, because commanders come off the battlefield for all sorts of reasons, not just because they get killed. You know, your radio dies, and all of a sudden, a tank battalion stops dead in the desert. Like, that's ridiculous. But you know, that's how traditional armies fight, right? Because, again, like we talked about in some earlier videos, before the era of really radio and satellite communications, just coordinating, just getting all your troops to do the same thing was really, really hard. It was harder, in many ways, it was like harder than fighting, right? The act of being able to quickly to issue orders in a timely fashion and have your subordinates execute them, and to be able to track where your subordinate units were, was like the biggest challenge. Anyway, all that to say, it's not super shocking to me that you would have these like borderline idiotic, ultra high disciplined squad mates. Though, okay, between you and me, I know it's because the AI programming was just a little lazy.
So if you really want to get heretical, you can instruct Apothecary Nahum to constantly juice himself up with self-heals like a fiending junkie, and he becomes a Tyranid Broodlord punching bag while you inflict heavy damage on whatever's attempting to eat you.
Tyranid bait is not the right word, brother. I prefer expeditionary Tyranid punching bag.
Your skill tree allows you to make these fellow brothers of yours more powerful, yourself more powerful, or grant additional purging abilities, and I sure as shit didn't blow any of it on them.
Yes, Brother Barrakill, I realize you want better armor, but I can now purge heretics in 3 different kinds of fire.
At least your objectives are simple, because you'll usually see a one-word description like fight or destroy.
Purge. Nice. I like that. And yeah, that seems like Space Marine tactical abilities. Purge, fight, move. Actually, what's interesting is that in U.S. Army battle doctrine, there are extremely precise definitions for exactly this sort of thing, where you go attack an objective is different from attack to seize, right? Attack to seize means you have to physically go on the ground. You have to control that ground, whereas attack just means you have to go to the target and eliminate any enemy or opposition at that target. There's raid, attack, ambush, move, and maneuver are different. Move, maneuver, recon. I'll have to pull it up, but it's a lot, and each one has a highly specific definition. And I used to get constantly angry comments in the margins of all my operations orders, because I would be like, "We're gonna move to this base," and they'd be like, "No, man, you think you're gonna maneuver?" right? Because you're doing it tactically. It's not a movement, it's a maneuver. Like, okay, you're technically true, but, like, did you really think I was going to, like, leave the fob without weapons? Like, really? You think I was going to just whiff that one because I said whatever? Obviously, I'm rehashing some deep-seated trauma here.
Off in the distance, and I think you already know what the hell you're doing here. So let me save my breath.
The Xenos are coming. We have to exterminate them at all costs.
I'm gonna need more Bolter for this heresy. I'm confused by this heresy, brother. Are the foul Xenos just purging themselves?
Predictably, once this string of objectives is complete, you realize the gene stealers lived up to their names by stealing your genes and decide to incinerate the place exterminatus style.
It was impossible to remove the traces of our gene seed from the bodies of the aliens. So Grandmaster Belial vowed to destroy everything instead.
Consider this a clear division in the video.
That seems like a logical and reasonable course of action.
Our guns have fallen silent, brother.
Because the single player, especially on the No Mercy difficulty, can be a frustrating, overwhelming with annoyance, and underwhelming with content experience where you feel like a lone guardsman against a legion of Xenos. Let me tell you about the Tyranids! But the multiplayer is 5 times better, a totally different animal, and it feels heretical even looping it in with a single player, because it's a completely distinct experience.
Xenophobia increases.
You know you're in a 40k game when instead of saying waiting for players, it's waiting for brothers.
Waiting for brother.
I'm getting too loyal for this shit. Brother. Look at Psycho. He's ready to smack a heretic.
What's up?
Can you be a heretic if you're a Tyranid? Do they even have a brain? Can an animal commit heresy? Can like a plant commit heresy?
First of all, multiplayer allows you to play 6 classes instead of just 1. Not that I hated playing a librarian.
My Facebook, I don't know what a librarian looks like because I can't fucking read.
But heavy weapon specialty granted me an assault cannon and abilities like zero spread, a devastating mine, and a virtual A10 warthog for an arm.
Assault cannon deployed.
Blood Ravens be like, me, an intellectual.
This joke is so far over my head. Are the Blood Ravens the vampires? I just don't know what. There's 1,000 chapters.
Oh, the size ray.
Nah, dude, you got
I
this.
think
Nah,
I
you
pop
bitch.
both my ults.
Look
Watch.
at him. Look at him. Those
That's zero
scissors ain't
accuracy
nothing.
on that
Fuck
rate of
him up.
fire.
Easy for somebody with a fucking A10 warthog strapped to their arm to say.
Run to me, brother. They'll all get fucked if they run into it. Just watch. Done.
Apothecaries are important because with half the Tyranids being able to tear through your armor like a Cheetos bag, you're gonna need an answer to your H key, which happens to be a needle drill the size of a baseball bat.
Stimulant deployed.
Apothecary, I require major
Brother, I need an apothecary.
Okay, I get it. Space Marines are immortal. I get it. You gotta have a healing function in a video game. I respect the fact that Tarkov got as close as any game ever can. But man, healing mechanics. Where they just... they jam a drill into your skull or whatever. That seems like a... That's gotta be the worst healing mechanic I've ever seen, actually. It's literally worse than just, like, walking over a med pack. Because at least walking over a med pack is, like, a reasonable thing. Like, you find a med pack, you put a bandage on a wound, and you're like feeling less bad. But like drilling someone is creating more wounds. And of course, if you get wounded, like actually the most realistic is probably the original Rainbow Six, where like basically if your people get wounded in action, they're off the team forever, right? Because it's like you get shot in the shoulder. It's not like the movies, man. The shoulder has like 800 million parts, and it's really hard. If you look at like MMA fighters that have shoulder injuries, it's surgeries, it's months of rehab, and a lot of times they're still like never quite the same fighter. So the idea that like you can just like shake off injuries or come back 100% is like hard. Again, look at any athlete, right? Like even like tearing one tiny tendon in your knee is like could be career-ending, right? And there's teams of people dedicated to getting you as close to fully functional as possible. Which again, all that to say, it really bothers me when people substitute all that for stabbing you in the fucking throat with a drill and being like, all better.
This Tyranid whispered in my ear he needed one too.
You would do that. You would do that. The apothecary walks up to you. You think he's gonna heal you. You think he's gonna heal you by stabbing you with his needle. He just punches you in the face.
Whatever, I'm going in.
Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. The cooldown. There, I'm gonna drill your ass.
By the way,
there you go. Hey, man, how many fingers am I?
Also, guys, okay, would you guys want to see me stream this? This looks like a fucking blast. Let me know in the comments, seriously.
Hold it up. Turn off your heavy flamer so I can tell you. Hold on, I'll get you. There you go.
Thank you, brother.
Tactical specialty was a must-have because he can revive a fallen brother.
Your duty is not done, brother!
And Interrogator-Chaplain is a no-brainer because he can revive 3 fallen brothers, temporarily reflect all incoming damage, and temporarily become invincible, which makes him broken as shit.
Literally too angry to die. I've felt that way sometimes, yeah. Okay, only loosely related story. So, when we were in Afghanistan, right, a quasi-authorized way to help ingratiate ourselves with the locals is we would buy stuff with dollars in the market, right? And my rule was, as long as you aren't buying, like, drugs or, like, medications or people, I never saw people for sale in Afghanistan in the way that... Anyway, as long as you weren't buying something terrible, like you could buy like food or like a fun hat, I was like, do it, right? Because every person that likes having us around is one less person who's going to try to hurt us. And so, yeah, at one point I bought on a goof these energy drinks. And it was all in Thai, except for the part where it said, like, power horn. And on the top it said, product of Thailand for export only. Now, if you've ever trained Muay Thai, you know that the Thai people love potent energy drinks. And they're just, like, wizards in terms of their ability to make not just cool energy drinks, but, like, they have healing balm that, like, actually works. Like, it actually increases blood flow to injuries. It's crazy. They're true magicians. So the idea that something is so dangerous that the Thai government was like, not for sale to our people, and instead sold it to Afghanis was like sort of terrifying, but I was intrigued. And so I consumed half a can of it. And for the next 4 hours, I was like doing like 7 things at once. It was pretty crazy. I signed over, like I had this like incredibly tedious paperwork related task with the Afghan police, which was like going to be a nightmare. I did it in like 4 hours, and I thought it was going to take me like 2 days. But then after that 4 hours, I remember walking into my room, my like little like officer quarters, and then the next thing I knew, it was 9 p.m. at night. And I guess I had fallen asleep, but I'm not sure. Point of all this to say, sometimes you're just too energized to die.
The best looking and overall a force to be reckoned with.
Pain is meaningless to me!
Can I speak to your manager?
The point I'm making with all of this fuss about classes is that multiplayer offers both variety and specialization, whether you're looking for something different or you just want to play someone that suits your style. You can move far beyond the librarian of the single player, and Retribution just isn't the same without your brothers.
Brothers, to partake in our crusade is to be immortal.
It's worth mentioning at this point to turn Codex rules on because it is a far less grindy experience, and more importantly, friendly fire is off. With the amount of heavy flamers we run, I'd say the Codex Astartes does support this action.
We may get burnt, brothers.
Yeah, the first thing that you do, of course. Yeah.
The space book says this is bad.
Don't up your DPI. There's no need to do that.
It says we can't do that in the Codex. Well, I can't read.
I can't read. Okay. Okay, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm good, guys. Nothing to worry about here. Oh my god.
Just roast my flames! Everybody gangster until Lolly Rick pull out the heavy flamer. Which conveniently leads me to my next point. Weapons.
I'm gonna need a heavy flamer for this heresy.
In the single player, you've got to use a versatile weapon. You've got big targets, small targets, close targets, distant targets, so much of the arsenal you can't use because it doesn't meet all those requirements. Take the Redemption, for example, the badass scatterbolter that blasts Xenos away in a ricochet of righteous steel.
Death to the enemy!
God, the ragdoll with that is so good, Heavenly.
Yeah, it just
You
flew
shoot them
across the
so far.
Stormbolter and Stormbolter
Yo, this
Mark.
shit ricochets? What the fuck?
Yup.
In the single player, you won't have the range to hit the dudes with Grimdark Panzer Shreks or anything at a distance for that matter, and your brain-dead brethren sure as shit won't notice them, so...
Yeah. This is actually a real thing, right? This is why infantry units fight as squads, for actually this exact problem. And why the Rambo thing, you know, the classic like lone soldier stereotype is pretty unrealistic, is because if you have 3 people, if you have, you know, 6 people, 9 people, you can do a lot and have a lot more weapons. There's actually a viral video of a special forces team in an ambush, and you can see literally like 4 of the team members are fighting, and they ask one of their buddies, like, get the AT-4, and he literally goes back to the vehicle, gets a rocket launcher, runs up, and pops it off to him. And it's like, dude, that's how it should be done, right? But if you're one person, right, you can't carry 6 different weapons, you know? Again, we would run a minimum of 4 vehicles, and it was great because you'd be like 2 240 Bravos and like a 50 cal and a Mark 19, right? So you can literally reach out and just area suppress somebody with an automatic grenade launcher, or you could hit somebody with the 240 Bravo, which is really mobile, really agile, and your gunners would also all be able to switch to their M4s, so they could literally get right next to the vehicle if they had to. That's the appeal of a weapons mix that he's obviously talking about here.
Your bone due to lack of range. But in multiplayer, you can combine your Redemption with a Heavy Flamer, Spear of Caliban, and Stormbolter for coverage at all ranges. You cover your brother up close while they cover anything at a distance.
For the Emperor!
That's
The Warhammer 40k version of the Mark 19, 50 cal, 240, and M4 mix, dude. It's great. Oh my god, if you were running dismounts, it was awesome. To just be like, to know that wherever you went, you had these 10-foot tall gunners with, you know, a tremendous amount of firepower, and you just had to, you wouldn't even have to radio them. You could literally like hand and arm signal them, you know. Not that it ever, you know, not that they ever would have waited, right? If they saw you taking fire, they'd just do their job.
also the reason why Melee is a bit of a joke, because on normal difficulty, I love crushing heretics and merciless retribution.
My faith is my shield!
By all accounts, it was no more than a hulking mass of steel!
But with any higher difficulty, it just doesn't work. Not only because Tyranids specialize in melee combat as apex predators, but so many Gene Stealers can one-shot you, it's paramount to purge them before they get close. Furthermore, damage is localized, as in if a Gene Stealer chomps your right arm, you can't shoot, and slashes your legs, you can't run away. So
hey, that's actually kind of cool.
Again, Melee is a tough sell.
I cannot move.
Hey, at least you can use a power fist with every heavy weapon, so it may not be a sword or an axe, but you can still smack a heretic.
Feel the weight of the chapter's finest. Die!
You get the point I'm hammering at. Every weapon in the arsenal is at your disposal with brothers by your side in multiplayer, instead of a handful of versatile ones in the single player, which means more fun, more purging, and of course, indiscriminate
Yeah, this dude's selling me on this multiplayer, man.
use of the heavy flamer.
Burn in holy fire!
I tell you to stop using your flamer so that I can see. First of all, this is a heavy flamer.
No,
Why are
we
you
broke that
flaming me?
earlier.
I'm right.
My flame does not discriminate.
I'm an equal opportunity flamer.
Equal opportunity purging. Hey! No.
You look like a disciplining mother with like a spray bottle, but instead it's
Hey,
a heavy
hey,
flamer.
no!
Fob in there, man. Listen. What if you could train a Tyranid to like be like a cat, you know? I guess you can't really train a cat.
It's heavy for a reason, because the Xenos you're up against I like to categorize as apex predators, suicidal apex predators, and apex predators so large that they can only be described as virtually immortal.
It's
a big boy. It's a big boy. Get out of my way, Clue. Get out of my way.
I'm too chunky.
Yeah. Oh, get behind the man with the assault cannon.
Gotcha. You'll come up in a second.
No, we'll be fine, Clue. You got an assault cannon and a heavy flamer, he'll go down. There you go. Technically, the Scythe Strain is virtually immortal, and the Brood Lord is virtually immortal and psychic, so...
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, this is classic 40k. Everything is just so overpowered relative to a regular person. Yeah, this fits everything I've heard about 40k.
Rule of thumb, Cthulhu-looking Xenos are superior to non-Cthulhu-looking Xenos.
What is this?
Get behind me, brother.
Cthulhu fan club out here.
And if it's a 20-foot-tall praying mantis bug-looking thing that just cuts your buddy in half and doesn't go down with an initial burst, it's either a Scythe Strain or a Brood Lord, and you may want to start a tactical withdrawal, because 2 more are on.
Can't say the R word in Warhammer 40k, dude. That's a one-way ticket to Inquisition land. Maybe an azimuth change to your advance, about 180 degrees. I know how to avoid heresy.
On their way.
Retreat now for victory later.
All right, everything you got.
Wide on
Everything you
ice,
got
boys.
to the Brood Lord on the right. Just do the one closer to the objective. As soon.
Okay, wow. So we're at 12 minutes in this 20-minute video. I'm loving this, dude. Honestly, I'm gonna pause it here. I'm going to pause it here, and, dude, if you guys had fun with this, I had fun just checking this. Dude, let me know in the comments, hit a like, and we'll finish this video out, actually. And if Russian Badger has any other sick videos like this, again, let me know, dude. I'm happy to look at them. Other than that, that's all I'm doing for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.